Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of the Slow Smoke Pigskin podcast. I'm Aaron. That's Drew.
I'm Andrew. Hello.
How's it going today, y'all?
Wonderful. In honor of Shohei Ohtani's first Dodger home run. I know it's a different sport, but
wrong sport.
Whatever.
But by the way, in honor of you, I'm drinking tequila today. It is Espolón bourbon barrel aged tequila.
So it probably tastes like whiskey.
Yeah, that's the whole joy of it. All right, so since our last episode, we finalized the results of the league meeting for this season. We had like 15 or 16 proposed rule changes. We ended up only voting to make 5. So the 5 changes that have been approved, first of all, we're going to allow doubtful players to IR spots. That makes me happy. The toilet bowl champ or toilet bowl loser, I never know what to call it. The person at the end of the toilet bowl who is in last place will no longer get any of our admin fees. So shipping the trophy is going to fall on you the year after, right? Because you don't have to ship it. So those costs are going to go to you. There will also be a $25 fee charged to the toilet bowl loser.
So you've put TB champ and TB loser. We need to come up with what is it going to be?
Yeah, whatever. The toilet bowl king.
King. There you go.
Either way.
King of his throne.
In an attempt to discourage tanking, that's what the league decided. We'll see how that goes. It wasn't my first choice, but that's what enough the league decided they agreed upon. Another rule that passed was the World Cup. So every 4th year, we will have some form of prize. As of right now, it was decided that the $25 for the toilet bowl loser will go to the World Cup prize to increase the value of that. So between, you figure $100 from the World Cup, we also decided that there's not going to be a week 18 weekly prize anymore. And the $20 that was allocated to that will now also go to the World Cup pot. So there's another $20 a season over 4 seasons. So that's another $80. So we're at $180 plus whatever interest is earned on money sitting in the bank for the league. We're probably looking at least $300 to be able to go to the World Cup winner in the future. This year it'll be a little bit less because we haven't collected all of that for as many years. But the season 8 champ will get a pretty decent prize. We haven't figured out exactly what it is. Might be a jersey. Some people said money. Some people said a really nice bottle. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Maybe we leave it up to the winner. Was that an option on the table? I don't know.
We didn't fully get there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't hugely concerned. The reality is I think giving money is not as fun. I feel like it's more fun to get something out of it.
Yeah.
But is what it is. And then also, right now, we all agreed that it would be the winner of the 4th year, and the 8th year, and the 12th year, etc. I got another proposal that we can vote on next year, which is instead of just looking at that 4th season, look at how everyone did over those 4 years and make that a longer term prize. So we'll discuss and make some decisions. So that's it for the league. We've got we filled out all the managers again.
I was going to say, we got a new manager, didn't we?
That was since the last episode, wasn't it?
I
Josh Smith, welcome to the league.
Welcome, sir.
He's played redraft with us before. He's worked with me and a couple of the other guys in the league, so he's not a stranger. He's already sent me funds for the year. I have high hopes that we won't have another shit show of a situation. So, and everybody has pretty much paid. I just heard a noise out of my phone. That might have been the last payment I was waiting for. If not, I got one more, and it's somebody who I know never has a problem paying. So we are good to go. That is good news. So
that is.
All right, on to NFL news. What you got for me, Drew?
We have salary cap increase to $255 million.
Yeah, it was like a $30 million increase, which when you look at just numbers, it was like it's the biggest jump that's ever happened, which sounds like a big deal, but actually, when you look at it as a percentage, it's not anywhere close to the highest that has been increased. So you can't necessarily just look at dollars and you look at percentages because got to take into account inflation and all sorts of crap. That being said, most estimates were between 245 and 250 for the expected cap number for this year. So that is going to mean teams have a little bit more money to spend than what was being projected. Now, that could mean more money for some of the free agents, but it also is the same across the board, right? So it's probably better for players than teams. It'll just mean the contracts they can get probably have a few extra bucks because the numbers are higher. But like I said, it's still since every team has the same number, it might shift. The other thing that I heard that I thought was interesting is maybe teams will be a little bit more likely to use the franchise tag with the fact that the number went up because it's only this 1 year that's franchise tags only for 1 year, so therefore it puts them in a better spot. Some teams are looking at it as I heard that some of the teams that were in cap trouble are possibly looking at this as an opportunity to catch up and make their money back for put themselves in a better position for the future. But either way, point is lots and lots of money.
Yes, money, 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 money. We have our first franchise tag of the year, T. Higgins, franchise tag.
Yeah, so that keeps together Higgins, Chase, and Burrow for another year. If Burrow can stay healthy this season, that offense can be scary. But I mean, the bummer has always been that T. Higgins is so boomer bust. Like he has these huge weeks and then he disappears. And part of that is having Jamar Chase, and the same kind of thing happens. Usually they don't tend to have big games on the same games, but they both end up with huge games happening over the season. So
yes, I think if they can stay healthy as a team, having their quarterback come back from his injury and being healthy, I think that's a different. We'll have a different, outlook on the team and the individual players as far as fantasy goes.
Yep.
Russ Wilson is in the news. He wants 2 more championships in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and I want $19 million for
Yeah,
doing nothing. Like,
of course.
Great.
But he's willing to take league minimum for the vet. So
yeah, I heard this that he might be willing to take league minimum. And that's because I think the Broncos owe him like $37 million for this year, and if they cut him, it's like $85 million. So it's like, yeah, if you get $85 million, you can afford to play for the veteran minimum and prove yourself before getting another contract.
even with his play this last year, I still think that he could help out a couple of teams that need quarterback for next year. So, if they're willing to take league minimum, he's already getting paid.
Yeah, I know Sean Payton came out, I believe, today and said that they will make a decision on what to do with Russ within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
But, even last year when Russ didn't have a great year, he actually, for fantasy, I think was still like QB 11.
Mm-hmm.
So he did a decent job, and that's still going to be a lot better than a lot of options out there. So we'll see where he ends up.
We'll see. The second year with the new head coach, so that could also play into effect if they can get along.
Yep.
One last piece of NFL news: Cam Newton defended himself very nicely, but still won't jump on a fumble. So
yeah, I mean, the man's like what, 6'5", 260 or something. Like, who's trying to fight this guy? He used to run over other professional athletes.
Correct.
Like, good for you for having the guts to go try and jump him, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't going to end well for anybody.
Yeah, I'm still not sure why they jumped him. I haven't looked too much into it, just social media and whatnot. So
it's such a slow football news time that I got like 4 alerts about this happening.
Yeah.
I was like,
It
oh,
was
this is
the big news.
yeah.
Okay, so the point of this podcast this week, the NFL teams, their needs versus like their free agency preview. So we're going to start off with our quarterbacks.
So yeah, like we're just we've got the combine coming up in the end of this week. We've got free agency starting in about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks or so. So part of the fun before those happens is trying to figure out who needs what to see where these players who are out there could end up. Um, so we're gonna start with the quarterbacks. Now there is a pretty strong draft class of quarterbacks coming out of college this year. There's three for sure expected to be or there's three expected to be the first three picks potentially. There's another 3 to 4 guys that are discussed in either later in the additionally in the first round or second round. I mean, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of them coming up on, some of our draft discussions, but point is there's a whole lot of young guys coming out, and as it's been proven, if you can get a quality quarterback on a rookie contract that frees up so much money for you to be able to do so many other things with your team, sign other positions, that a lot of teams will prefer to look that way if they can. So this there's also not a lot of great free agent quarterbacks this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what some of these teams try and do.
Yes, it will. So we're going to lead it off with the Falcons, and they have two quarterbacks still under contract, but they need it's Heineke and Ritter, and they just need help there. So we'll
Yeah,
see
I
what
mean,
happens.
2 years of the Desmond Ritter experiment, I think they've given up on that one. Heineke had his little flashes in Washington, but he's not going to be a quality starter. There's a whole new coaching staff that I think doesn't care about Ritter. So they need to fill that hole. They've got, I believe, the eighth pick again, because that's the same pick they've had for like 3 years in a row and taken offensive weapons every time.
Correct.
They need a quarterback. What are they going to do? They could trade up. They could start looking at trade possibilities, but Falcons are going to have to make some move if they want to have any real chance.
Moving on to the Raiders, O'Connell with the backup as Hoyer, both still under contract.
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell. Oh, I don't remember what round pick he was last year, but he was a later round pick. Played well enough, started a bunch for the Raiders this season. Uh,
I
don't
believe
know
he
if
was a
any.
fourth round pick.
I don't know if anybody believes in him for the future. Jimmy Garoppolo with his
Whoops.
PEDs is gone. They need to make a move at quarterback. He was the Raiders were a potential spot for Justin Fields to trade at one point, but once Luke Getzey went there, his old OC from Chicago, I think that pretty much ruled out Justin Fields going there.
Yes, I,
So
I did see something that he said about how he liked coaching Fields, but it obviously didn't work out for what, two
no,
seasons, if not a third. I
yeah,
don't remember exactly when, but
yeah.
Vikings have a quarterback vacancy with Cousins being a free agent. Potentially, they've already said it. They're not going to pay him with his injuries. So
I mean, I've heard conflicting stories on this. He said that they'd give him a discount. They said that they're not going to give him fully guaranteed contracts. I still think it makes sense for both sides for Cousins to go back there. I've heard that Justin Jefferson wants to know what their future plans are at quarterback before he signs an extension. So
that makes
they're
sense.
not going to go into the season with Mullins as their starter. They got Jaron Hall, who tried to start a game or two and just absolutely fell on his face. The Pastronaut they brought in, they're going to do something. I truly think Cousins will end up there, but they do have to do something at quarterback there.
Agreed. Next up, we have the Commanders, who have the second pick in the draft and have quarterbacks, but obviously it has not worked out at all. So
I mean, Sam Howell did all right. Statistically, he was all right. He wasn't. He's not generational now. If they can get a one or a second pick type of quarterback with the fact that there's three believed to be very capable quarterbacks, and it makes sense for them to do that. Cliff Kingsbury's there and gonna supposedly try and do something. It'd be pretty surprising if Caleb Williams didn't go number one, and then you could reunite Williams and Kingsbury. But I, it's a kind of a bummer because Sam Howell didn't look too bad, but I think with the position they're in, they either have to put absolute faith in Sam Howell or uh and then trade down, which I just don't see happening. They're probably going to take a quarterback with their early pick.
yeah, I agree. I think that the even though he might have had good stats, like they didn't win, and that's what you need if you've got your quarterback with decent stats. Like that should translate into a a better record than what they had. But
On the
moving on.
Commanders, real quick, shout out to Eric Bieniemy, who's going to go be the offensive coordinator for UCLA now. Go Bruins! But he's doing it to support Deshaun Foster, the new head coach. That's a pretty cool move, I think.
Mhm.
So good for him.
Nice. We have the Patriots who are needed an entirely new offense. So I'm gonna say that every single time we talk about them. So
Yeah, Mac Jones has been drama. Bailey Zappi showed flashes, but ain't nothing. So once again, another chance they've got the third pick. Maybe they take a quarterback. I've also heard them, well, if you equip the quarterbacks they have with somebody like Marvin Harrison, I don't know. I wouldn't want to keep going with Jones and Zappi, but we'll see.
we'll see. Broncos, we've already talked about the quarterback situation there. I don't know how much time I want to spend on that.
I mean, I assume they're gonna go into the season with Jared Stidham unless they surprise us and give Russell Wilson a shot on either restructure or release and resign. But uh, there's going to be a change, whether it's actually just money or the actual quarterback.
Bears with their quarterback Fields with the first pick, so we don't know, are they going to trade away? There's a whole bunch of talk that's been going on.
Yeah, it's a weird situation where they don't necessarily need a quarterback, but they're at pick one with some very talented quarterbacks available. They have a talented quarterback, but he's about to have to get paid. Do they want to reset the clock? I do like that the GM Ryan Poles said that if they do take a quarterback at number one, that will mean that they are trading Fields. That's good because it means they're not just gonna. Well, it's good and bad. It means they're not gonna put the pressure on Fields if they let Fields start with a number one quarterback sitting behind him. Although we have seen that is a very successful situation when you let a rookie quarterback sit behind a veteran for a while, it just doesn't happen with early picks anymore. They expect these guys to come in and play and show up. So
It would be
the
one thing if I haven't heard anybody say that Caleb Williams isn't ready to play now.
the only thing about Caleb Williams is he looked like this stellar prospect, and then he kind of fell back this year. He had
They blamed Kingsbury on that one, by the way.
Yeah, but also I thought I heard he had like 16 fumbles or some stupid number, so he's got to protect the ball better too in the NFL.
But he was getting paid $3 million, like, and he already knew what the process was going to be. He didn't. He could go back to SC as well. He's already declared, and that's not an option because I think there's more to the story than what we're knowing. But the part that sucks is that you won't know until draft day because Chicago's not going to say trade Fields, and then that gives away
Yeah.
their hand. So
Yeah.
moving on with the Saints.
We had the Saints on this list before they restructured Carr. Now that Carr's restructured, I don't think they're going to make any changes this year.
No, but they do need a backup. Winston
That's fair.
is a free agent, so that's something to think about as far as could a Tannehill end up there as a backup, something like of that nature where,
Yeah.
the Steelers, they need a quarterback. Rudolph is a free agent. I mean, I could see them re-signing, but I don't know.
I'm not certain about that. I swore he was under contract. Either way, I can't imagine they go into next season with Rudolph or Pickett as their starting quarterback. I guess it's possible. I just don't think it's a good decision.
No,
Um,
I don't think so either.
I've heard them as a prime candidate for either a trade for Fields or Russ Wilson going there on a lower money contract, but I just don't see them continuing with Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett has just not performed. There's a meme going around about that that one time Ben Roethlisberger had one game that was basically an entire Kenny Pickett season because he passed for 522 yards and six touchdowns or something like that, more than Pickett can throw in a damn year. Uh,
Yeah, they need some help there.
yeah,
Seahawks are looking to stay with Geno.
Yeah, that was a question before, but they said that they're going to keep him on the roster and he just got 12, $13 million or something guaranteed because of it. So looks like another year of Geno.
Are the Buccaneers going to re-sign Mayfield?
To me, it makes sense for them to run it back with Mayfield and Evans. Mayfield performed better than, most folks expected. If he goes and asks for $40 million, maybe it'd be a problem, but I think he made like under 10 this year. I thought it was a pretty low number that he made this year. So
Yeah.
he'll need to get paid more than that, but I don't think we're looking at stupid amounts of contracts. So it probably
Not,
makes sense for them to run it back.
yeah, not stupid, but I do believe that he is, as of last year and his performance, he's probably the best free agent quarterback on the market
Uh,
right now.
I'd vote Cousins even with the injury, but
Okay.
it's debatable.
Yeah. The Titans have a quarterback. They have a new coach. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to stick with Will Levis to an extent. The question is just if the new coaching staff will think that as well. The other concern that I heard somebody mention earlier today was Will Levis is absolutely horrible at feeling pressure, and the Titans' offensive line is one of the worst at allowing pressure. So is when Levis definitely showed flashes of talent and moments of looking good. But if he can't feel pressures, he's just gonna die out there with the offensive line. So they probably need to make moves at offensive line more than they do at quarterback. That being said, they brought Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan brought his dad, Bill Callahan, with him. And Bill Callahan has long been revered as one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. So maybe that's not a problem.
Maybe. I think whatever he's got a strong arm, he can run. I think a off season and practice and stuff like that. All these quarterbacks that are big question marks. Hopefully, they're working on their downfalls. Hopefully, that makes a difference, along with drafting or trading for a better offensive line. Obviously,
Yep.
we've got a few free agents, quarterbacks that we didn't really talk too much about, but Flacco with Baltimore, Minshew, Gabbert, Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota, Carson Wentz, he did well, and Sam Darnold.
It's funny that you said Baltimore Flacco because if you
Oh, he's not
remember,
Baltimore. I don't know why I said that.
yeah, I know because that's where he used
He's
to
on the
play a
Browns.
long, long time ago.
Yes.
But
Oh, you got
anyways,
me.
yeah. So there are some free agents, but they're all basically backup level.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot out there. All right, moving on to running backs. So running back is gonna be a very different situation this year, I think, than it was last year. Last year, none of the free agent running backs could get paid. Partially, there were some rookies coming in, that had promise. There was Bijan out there. There was Jameer Gibbs drafted, Kendry Miller. There was a bunch of promising looking rookies. This year's college rookie class at running back does not look stellar. There's, a couple of guys who might be able to be NFL players, but we had two running backs in the first top 12 picks last year. Everything I'm hearing is there's probably not even a running back going to be taken in the first 2 rounds potentially this year. Definitely not a first round and
No,
possibly not a second.
maybe
So,
a late second at best.
yeah. So what that means is there are some good free agent running backs out there that might have a better chance of getting paid this year than they did last year. There's the 3 guys who had franchise tag issues last year in Saquon, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs. So they're back on the market because they were playing on basically on the franchise tag with a modified contract.
Hmm.
Austin Eckler is a free agent. We've got Derrick Henry as a free agent. So we've got a bunch of very, very high level, but a lot of them getting older running backs. So getting paid higher dollars for short-term contracts for some of these guys is very possible this offseason. Um, but they're going to have to realize they're not going to get long-term contracts. But if they want to get some decent money for a single year, it's possible.
I agree. The other thing is that a lot of teams are going to a 2 running back set, whether it be a receiving versus a power or just someone to trade out and have that mobility to create, different looks and stuff like that. So you're going to see a lot of teams with multiple kind of that older, but still could be a first RB1.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop into some of these teams.
All right, so we've already spoken about a couple of them. Cowboys, they need a running back.
Yeah, I mean Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle are both free agents, so if they're going to have to do something because I think Deuce Vaughn is like the only one under contract, and that's not going to work. So
No.
maybe they resign Pollard. I've heard Derrick Henry, but because Jerry Jones likes to spend money, but we'll see. I don't believe that. Point is, Cowboys have to sign somebody.
Somebody.
Yep.
Chargers,
Yeah, they've got to fill a hole. Austin Eckler's a free agent. They're not going to probably pay him the type of money he's going to want. Joshua Kelly proved he can't be a lead back. Isaiah Spiller uh, hasn't shown anything in the pros, so I don't see that one falling. So they're going to be looking out there at some of the free
and
agents.
if I'm not mistaken, Harbaugh is a run-heavy coach, correct?
Yep,
So they
absolutely.
got to do something. Giants,
Saquon's a free agent. If they don't re-sign him, they're going to either have to re-sign him or find somebody else because they need help.
the Vikings,
Ty Chandler showed some flashes. Alexander Madison was a disappointment over what they had hoped for him with Dalvin Cook leaving. So maybe they stick with what they have. I mean, Cam Akers is technically on the team, but I don't even know if he's going to be able to play. So,
no, and they're both still under contract, so they would be going out and having to get a another piece along with
yeah.
their quarterback situation. So
Yep.
the Eagles, Swift being a free agent.
Yeah, and they signed Swift to a 1-year deal. He had his best first 1,000-yard rushing season last season, but his pass catching went drastically down over how he'd done in his career. So they're going to have to sign somebody. It's just a question of do they re-sign DeAndre Swift? Do they want a cheaper option? That offense, new offensive coordinator, things are going to look a lot different. They're going to have to make some kind of move at running back.
Panthers, Hubbard and
Yeah, I mean,
Sanders.
they signed Miles Sanders, who will just crap the bed. Chuba Hubbard played okay. Are they willing to stick with them, or are they going to look for another option? I really don't know.
The problem is that Hubbard was better for fantasy, I believe, than he was for the team. So that's one of those things where like we were okay with him, but the team he
Yeah,
wasn't a good. I mean, that team needs help in general.
yeah.
We got the Bears with Herbert.
Yeah, the Bears might not have to make a move. They've got Khalil Herbert for another year. Roshan Johnson's young, and this is only his second season. I just don't know if they trust either of them to be who they stick with.
The Titans need a new running back with Henry being a free agent and probably
Yeah,
moving elsewhere. They've
yeah.
got Spears and Haskins.
So I don't know if they need another running back. I just don't know if they're going to go with only Spears. If I remember correctly, Spears had a great rookie year, had a bunch of catches, but if I remember correctly, he's slightly undersized for what you
Correct.
generally want for an NFL running back. So I could see them making some kind of move.
Rashad White, or not Rashad White.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah,
Rashad
Rashad
White
White.
in the with the Buccaneers, still under contract. Edmonds is the free agent, their backup.
Yeah, Rashad White was pretty much the lead back and played a whole lot this year. I just don't know if they decide to stick with that. So there's some concern there. Maybe they make a move, maybe they don't. It could have very drastic impacts on Rashad White's fantasy value.
We got the Packers up next with Jones, Dillon being the free agent.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bringing back AJ Dillon. It'll AJ Dillon will likely get a contract somewhere. So these places that we've talked about that need like a big body back for short yardage and whatnot, he can probably go to one of those locations, but he's not a lead back. He's not going to set the world on fire. He can get you if you need 2 yards, he'll get you three. If you need 4 yards, he'll get you three.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yes. He's been overshadowed his career by Jones, which it's
Yeah.
kind of sucks because he's a really decent back, but hasn't
Yeah.
really, come to fruition for him. A few teams, the Texans, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. The Texans need a running back, if I remember correctly. They don't have anybody
Oh, I mean, Damian
under
Pierce.
contract at this time.
No, Damian Pierce I think, should still be on a rookie
Okay.
contract. But Devin Singletary was a 1 year deal, so they're gonna need to bring in somebody. They've been listed as a spot for some of these big they've got a lot of cap space. So I've heard the idea of Saquon going there. I've heard the idea of Derrick Henry. I've heard the idea of Austin Eckler. All of these big money free agents, they've talked about it, but so they're gonna sign somebody. I just don't know who. They're not gonna go with just Damian Pierce. So maybe they resign Singletary or they pick one of these other options. The Chiefs, like you mentioned, they need somebody behind Isaiah Pacheco, but I don't see them signing a big name. And the Raiders, they've got Zamir White. They may re-sign Josh Jacobs. I think it'd be silly. So, you know, we they'll sign somebody, but it may just be that they sign somebody cheap to have another
Yeah.
body as
I
opposed
heard
to
they weren't gonna refranchise tag Jacobs. So if they give him a contract, they do, but I think that last year was his year to prove, and it kind of was a struggle for him. So who knows? I mean, who cares about the Raiders anyways?
All right. Do you want to hop to where do you want to go, Drew? You want to do tight ends very quickly, and then we'll have to end this one and do a second part for this week or wide receiver since that's a bit longer conversation.
Yeah, wide receiver. I think with the amount of wide receivers that we have going up in the draft class, that could be.
Yeah.
We can tie that in with maybe
So
like the combine.
yeah.
So the tight ends, yeah, everybody needs a tight end.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of places that need a tight end, but there's also not a whole lot of big names out there, and there's like one name in the draft, and so they there's a bunch of teams that either don't have any or don't have any useful. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do something. Uh,
Yeah, I mean the Chargers, Everett is a free agent, but they have Parham as their backup right now, who's decent, but again, it's mid-level. It's for fantasy. It's I mean,
Even for NFL, like
yeah,
Parham is a big target in the end zone, but that's all he's really proven to be good for. So they're gonna sign somebody, I would be fairly certain.
yeah, I sure. I mean, I just don't know who, but yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the Bengals. They've all four of their tight ends right now are free agents. I don't, I could name them off, but I don't even know
You know,
who
Daniel
they are
Jer
really.
there's a guy who does mock drafts, Daniel Jeremiah. He's one of the big names out there, and he's a Bengals fan. So I think in his latest mock, put Brock Bowers to the Bengals at like pick 13, which would be pretty shocking if Bowers fell that far. But
I
he
don't think
did
he's
it
gonna
kind of for
fall.
fun as a hopeful Bengals fan. Because could you imagine throwing Brock Bowers out there with Chase and now Higgins on a franchise tag and Joe Burrow? That'd be ridiculous.
As a NFL team, that'd be great, but as a fantasy owner, like you really don't want
Well,
that.
that's fair. That's
It's
fair.
hard enough to spread it out with what they have, but I
Yep.
don't know. The Broncos, they had Troutman was a is a free agent. I think
Yeah.
he's their number one right now, but
Well, the only thing you got to remember, they've got Greg Dulcich hopefully coming off
correct.
IR, but if he's healthy and if he is going to play, they've talked about him being in that like Joker role instead of a normal tight end role, so they may need another blocking tight end or something.
Yeah. The Patriots, Henry and Gesicki are both free agents.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they need to rebuild every position, so they'll have to sign somebody. But I did hear that Jonnu Smith got waived today, so maybe
That
he can
is
go back
correct.
there again.
Yes. Whose team is he on? The Falcons. They waived
Yeah,
him.
yeah, they waived
They
him
released him or waived him,
because
whatever
they
it
kept
was.
throwing him the ball instead of freaking Kyle Pitts. Anyways, let's not get me
Yeah.
started on that.
They don't need him.
Yeah,
Seahawks, Noah Fant is free agent for them.
yeah, he's young and talented. They're gonna have to have somebody catch the ball because I hope they're not going to continue with old ass Will Disley, but. So they might be out there, but once again, the options are uninspiring.
The Texans, Schultz is a free agent for them.
It probably makes sense for him to re-sign with the Texans if they can work out a deal. CJ Stroud
I
liked him as a security blanket, and he's not going to set the world on fire, but he will make the catch when you get it to him. Get him, like I said, it's that safety blanket for a younger quarterback.
and that Texans team is going to do well next year. Hopefully they all stay healthy, but that's a team that is going to go deep into the playoffs, I
I
would
would,
imagine. So he would
I
probably
would
want to be
say
a part of
so.
that. The Bears, they don't have a backup.
I mean, they got Cole Kmet. I don't think they need to really
Yeah,
worry. I think he's still on a
no,
rookie contract and he's been pretty productive. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, everybody
Well,
else pretty much has their tight ends under contract, or they just kind of put them out there and rotate them as the blocking back or the receiving back or tight end, blocking tight end or receiving tight end.
all right. Well, we were supposed to do wide receivers too, but we
Yeah,
are pretty much out of time.
we talk too much. Sorry.
That'll happen. So
Yeah.
we'll figure out whether we just do a quick episode continuation for just the wide receivers or if we save it for next week. Either way, you'll get another video at some point that you may or may not watch. So thanks for watching this one.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Drew.
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya.